Adjust the camera just a little bit here, try and get a little bit better view. Okay, the Spite and Malice paintings are interesting because there was an artist who, a year ago, started trying to cause me problems. An old artist. This individual was an old gatekeeper, about 76, 78 years old, somewhere in there. Who knows? He might be 80 by now. I don't know his actual age. Other than he's ancient, I refer to him as the old fart artist. And the funny thing is that I was out of the painting industry. I was gone. And the only reason I'm back is because he couldn't leave well enough alone. He told me that I was talentless, told me that I couldn't paint anything, told me that all the floating island ideas were his. And I had left floating islands alone a long time ago. I had gotten to a point where I just was not going to paint any more floating islands, period. But he started the war and he just kept on taking victory laps on me. So I'm back and I'm gonna paint. Now, of course, I don't make any money off of my YouTube channel. I sell paintings, I sell books, and I sell my card game. So if you want to go to buymynovels.com, that's BUYMYNOVELS, buymynovels.com. Locate me, Sean Nathan Ricks. You can find my card game, which is I Magi Kingdom of Thor card game. It's based off of the I Magi novel. There's a parallel series called The Man Who Would Be Time. These are the first book in each one of those series. And then I just wanted to show you guys a couple of the cards and read them from the card game because these are flat out hilarious. So this is the Space Colonies of Archimedes. You choose an opponent, play 3 rounds of rock, paper, scissors. The loser must sing I'm a Little Teapot and loses 1 turn. Now this is non-negotiable. After all, without rules, we are merely animals. Now sing. That's that one. All right, the next card is the Rubber and Glue Tree. I'm rubber, you're glue. Whatever action or cards you wanted to play on me, reverse and stick to you. Now take it and be happy. So, if you're watching this, we're going to just jump into painting clouds, the background of a lot of the floating island paintings. I'm not going to do a lot of talking on this one. Instead, what I'm going to do is I am just going to play some music as I paint. So, let's get to it. The music is going to start up here in a second. We're just getting a background and a base going on. There's not a lot of form that's going to come through it yet. I use a lot of makeup brushes to really just kind of get some separation and color to begin with. These makeup brushes will kind of push the color around until I get a form that I'm looking for, and then I'll paint based off of what I see there. This will end up being a floating island painting when I'm done. So the cloud layer is probably the most important part of that. Starting to get some good separation. Some of these stray. I started working off of those. I use an awful lot of makeup brushes. Start getting some one there. We got a nice huge chunk of it right there. So we're gonna pull this in. Floating islands, but right now we're just working on the cloud layer. These makeup brushes do most of my work for me. You can see how I can start to soften up everything. Once I've got a lot of wet paint on the canvas, and I'm doing this in acrylic. The blue and white is just kind of boring. So you're gonna notice that I'll bring in a bunch of extra colors now. We'll just get some of those put in different spots. We're gonna take another makeup brush. Ah, Decola DK. Hi. Now you could spend hours and hours and hours on this. I put in so many different layers on these. In fact, let's turn the music down just a little bit. Okay, so if you're really curious about painting, do any of you guys actually paint? Do you create your own things? I'd love to know. I always encourage people to go, and hey, you might end up being better than what I'm doing. And if that's the case, you definitely have to share and show. I'd love to see your work. We got some nice highlights. We definitely need to start working on getting some shadows in now. So let's switch over to some of those. You can get some real dark colors down here in this corner. And I want to use a little bit of Payne's Gray. Let's see. Looks like it hardened up over the evening. Let's kind of bring some in there, and then we'll go back to drawing it out. Let's see. Ralph KK, you paint acrylic? Nice. I mean, you definitely need to share your work. So if you end up finding any of my other social medias, they're all Sean Nathan Ricks, SeanNathanRicks. Find my Instagram, in fact, by exactly that name, and then go ahead and share some information in a direct message to me. I love seeing everybody else's work. That's the thing is the reason that these are called the Spite and Malice paintings is because there was an old artist who is big in Washington State, and he flat out started trashing me. Called me a liar, called me a thief, called me all kinds of things because he paints floating islands. And by the time he had started trashing me, I had already stopped painting the floating islands. So what I'm doing is I'm doing 21 floating islands in 21 days just out of spite and malice for the fact that he told me I can't. The fact that he said the entire genre belongs to him, which is patentedly ridiculous, really. But, it's the height of human arrogance to try and tell other people what they can and can't do, right? Okay, we're getting a nice background here. We'll kind of darken up some of this blue up here. It's getting a little tacky, so you got to move quick on it. Okay, we've got a little bit of indication of what's going on now as clouds. This is just the beginning, guys. There is a massive, massive, massive amount of depth that's going to be added in here. And there's a whole lot of other colors that are going to be brought into these as well. Give you guys an idea of the type of brushes that I use. Let me go ahead and grab some of them just to show you. So these makeup brushes do a great job for you. Each one of them has a different purpose. And it was actually my girlfriend from ages and ages ago that started talking to me about using these. But each one of them does a slightly different job. But I use some of the traditional brushes as well when I need to get different details in. For instance, if I need to pick out the forward part of one of these and get some detail, and then I'm going to take one of the other makeup brushes and pull the back end. So I'm going to leave a hard line on the clouds in the fore of it. Show you guys that right now. Choose this little one here, and it's slightly damp. I'm just going to make some circular motions going each direction. You don't want it to really be predictable. The nice thing about clouds is they will absolutely just kind of go whichever way they want. Some of these giant cumulus clouds, if you actually went into them, pilots call them the fluffy white clouds of death because you don't want to fly into them. But if you did, there would be wind going in every single direction. I have a buddy of mine who is a pilot, and his grandfather was a pilot. His grandfather was Albert Gerald Lewis, a top World War II pilot for all of Britain. In fact, that's an interesting story about Albert Gerald Lewis. He didn't start as a pilot. He was a South Afrikaner, so he was a farmer down in South Africa when the war started, and he was a really good mechanic. So he was a mechanic on the planes. And then one day, one of the RAF, the Royal Air Force pilots, comes to him and says, "Hey, I understand you box a little bit." He says, "We're going to hold a boxing match for all the pilots. We'd like to invite you to come and box." Well, Albert Gerald Lewis ended up beating all of them, all of the pilots. Also helped that he was like 6'5". I don't even know how they ended up putting him in a Hawker Hurricane. If you end up reading about anybody, that guy's a cool guy to read about. Albert Gerald Lewis, top World War II flying ace for all of Britain. He was an ace in a day. He shot down 5 planes in a single day. So you can start to see we've got a little definition that comes through now. And like I said, these makeup brushes, they do a ton of your work for you. Let's get a little wisps out here, and we're going to use a much broader brush because we want them to be just little indications out there. And then maybe we want to lighten up this whole corner a lot. So let's actually do that. I'm going to use this brush for it, a nice big flat one. Just grab some white, a little off white, and I'm just going to put it in there. Then I'm going to hop off of it, and I'm going to use one of these big makeup brushes that's wet. And we will just kind of pull some color down through there to lighten up the corner. And of course, it's going to make the camera float around a little bit. That helps a lot. We'll come down close to these. Once you've got that, choose a dry brush. This one has a specific technique that it'll do. It's going to pull and dry at the same time. And by doing that in these little circles, I'll end up getting a real nice separation and a mixing of the color at the same time. I don't worry if I come over anything that I've already done because I can just come back over it. Now, if you push too hard with this, it's going to pick up paint. Make sure you dry it. I just have a couple of towels off to the side and I run them across those towels really, really fast. Okay, let's get a little bit more color going on in here. I'm going to take a really, really fine brush. And I've got a little bit of off-white mixed with some burnt sienna. I'm just going to do these little counterclockwise strokes. That's going to pick out the edge of my cloud. And then again, I come in with this one and it's a little too wet. I need to get it a bit, sorry, it's a little too dry. I need to get it a bit wet. Just let the paint pull for you. And then do some clockwise ones the other way. Pull it out. If you get dark spots, kind of leave those. You want to have some different striations in your cloud. And I can keep on pulling some of that more and more until I can fade out. Then as I get closer and closer down in here, it's going to pull into it. Now, it's really funny. The color that I pulled into earlier was not, it was not Payne's Gray. I ended up dipping into my transparent burnt umber. So I want to grab my Payne's Gray real quick. So I've got some right here. Just get that out a little bit. Okay, now I'm going to dip into the same brush and I'm just going to pull some here, here, and here. Then I'm going to use a very big, broad, wet brush. I'm just going to pull that stuff around a little. And the more you move it, the more it'll mix on your canvas. Let the paint do the work for you. Don't try to tell the paint what to do. Just kind of go with wherever it's going to be and then improvise off of that. Like right there, it's lightening things up, so I'm going to go with it. And it's going to lighten up as I pull down into here. I'm going to pull some around right up into that corner. Got a little glare from the light I'm using, but change the direction you're using your brush back and forth. So if you're going clockwise one moment, go counterclockwise the next. And then sometimes just do these big, broad, sweeping ones, depending upon what you're trying to get. Get a real nice, soft brush stroke because you're not putting a lot of pressure on it. Soften up. Get one of yours that's dry. And then pull that across it. And it'll mix for you. The dry brushes will do a lot of your pulling and mixing and get rid of some of your brush strokes if you're not wanting them. But you don't always want to get rid of your brush strokes. Sometimes you want to keep them. If you guys haven't already done it, go take a look at buymynovels.com, BUYMYNOVELS.com. It's in the description. That is, I don't make any money off of my YouTube channel, so I sell my novels, I sell my card game, I sell my paintings, I sell limited edition prints, and yeah, that's pretty much it. The card game is the I Magi Kingdom of Thor card game. So you guys can take a look at that. All right, we've got some pretty good clouds, but I want to add more to them. They're kind of all the same color. I really want to get a lot more richness. So I'm going to go with some warm colors. I'm actually going to pull in a little bit of orange. And I'm going to use some off-white with that orange. I'll get some of these put in different spots. Just bring it there, and then you're back to your makeup brush again. And this one, I want it to be soft before I add hard edges, so I'm going to use the larger makeup brush. And again, don't try to tell the paint what to do. Just kind of play with it until you're happy. And now I want to bring in some darks down here. Because I know what I'm going to put over top of this is a floating island moon. So I'm going to get my Payne's Gray, which is a good mixing dark. I'm going to pull it around in certain spots. And then I'm going to go back to one of these other brushes. Now, this one is great for great big swirls, and it's going to mix a ton on your canvas for you. And I can use it to pull some of this paint down. I can use it to pull paint down in lots of different ways. In this case, pull a little up, grab some of that, and just add a little color up here. And it holds a lot of water, this brush does, so it's really good for being able to use that in different spots. If you push too hard, it's just going to pick your paint up. So don't push too hard. All right. We're going to go back to playing around. Uh, hang on just a second here. Okay. We're going to go back to this brush. And this time I'm going to add a nice hard white along the edge here. I want to get a little more definition on some of these. And I'm really just trying kind of following where the paint has ended up giving me definition. And then I'm going to use my big one here, and I'm going to kind of flatten it a little bit. I'm going to pull the back end. Pull a little bit forward. And you have to go quick because it is acrylic paint, so it will start to dry on you if you're not fast enough. I've done live demonstrations of these at conventions before, which is why it's hilarious that this guy has flat out said that I'm banned from NorwestCon, I'm banned from MissCon, and he says you're banned from RadCon. Well, I just got contacted by the people at RadCon, and they said you are not banned from our convention. We don't care what that guy says. You are not banned. He doesn't get to tell us who we can and cannot have at our convention. Now, the same thing's kind of happening at NorwestCon, although I suspect that since that's kind of his home convention, what's going to happen is they're going to come back to me and they're going to make up something like, well, we understand that you're this kind of a person, that kind of a person. I'm always a nice guy at the conventions because I know how to talk to people. I've been a sales guy in sales and marketing for ages, and I want to be friends with every single person that I meet. I just love people. Well, this guy doesn't love people. He grew up being an artist in the 80s. In the 80s, you could be a grumpy bastard and still end up selling paintings to people. That's a different world now. People want to be your friend, not your fan. And that's the thing is I don't actually have fans. I have friends. And by having friends, that's a heck of a lot better than having fans. Every single one of the people that say they're a fan of mine, they're actually a friend of mine. You know, being a fan's a side effect, is what my opinion is, because as far as I'm concerned, I just want to be friends with the entire world. I like everyone. I like people. That's why I've spoken in front of 5,000, 6,000 people at conventions, and I dig being on stage. I love doing live interactions. I love when I have the opportunity to have some of the younger artists, some of the just up and starting artists come and chat with me and give them pointers. And honestly, I'm impressed by everybody's work. Got some really nice clouds going on here. The funny thing is, this guy told me, he said, I was a no talent bum. I couldn't paint. I should go back to doing what I did before. Well, the joke's on that bastard. I've been painting since I was an itty bitty kid, painting on my mother's walls. And I've met younger artists that are actually better than me, and I've taught them how to sell their work. It's a personal point of pride. If I meet a young artist and I can teach them how to sell, and then they outsell me, hey, I'm all over that. I love that. Let's get a little bit of color in here. Well, that is really thick. If you get that, just pull it off. And we're actually going to kind of spread it around a little bit. Let's put our light source coming from over here, just a little bit up and pulling down. It's just layer after layer after layer while you're playing with the paint. But yeah, like I said, if I've got a younger artist and I teach them how to outsell me, I'm all about that. I make a lot of money in other ways. I don't have to make my money by painting. This guy has to make his money by painting, and maybe I was outselling him. Maybe that's what his problem is. I honestly don't know because I used to look up to him. But I think if he had said the same things that he said to me, to a younger artist who doesn't have the same confidence, maybe they would have gone and self-deleted them. They might have checked out early, and think about that. Would be deprived of a really amazing person on the face of the planet, and would be deprived of all of the future art. Even if they didn't, just think about the future art we would miss because this guy was a dick to someone. Well, there's just no call for that. Either be a bonus and a positive in somebody's life, or shut the hell up. Don't try to drag people down. It's not, we're all on this third rock from the sun together. None of us are going to get out of it without having some kind of problems. I just took what he said as a personal challenge, and so that's where we're at. That's also why I decided to go back to doing some of the floating island paintings, is because he told me that genre belonged to him. He was the eternal creator of it all. No, nobody could end up arguing with him. He was the guy. So, if that's the way you're going to be, you're just asking for somebody to come in and take market share from you. In fact, I'm going to kill the market with these. I don't have to make money off of my paintings. So, what I'm going to do is when it comes to having all 21 of these done in 21 days, and I've already done 5 in 2 days. This will be my 6th in 3 days. So, maybe I need to slow down a little. But when I'm done with them, I'm going to do a Facebook auction with them. I'm going to start the auction price at just $35 for the original 16 by 20 painting. And then if somebody gets it, if they get it at $35 and that's the only bid, I'm going to end up giving them one of my novels. I'll give them either The Man Who Would Be Time, or I'll give them I Magi. And if it goes to $50, I'll end up giving them both books. Now, I didn't get into this to make money. I got into it because I loved art. And I loved people, and I loved meeting new people and becoming friends with them and fans of theirs. I can't tell you how many young artists I've seen that say they look up to me, and I'm like, they're better than I am by a long shot. We got a lot of fun color there. Let's get a little bit of darker color. We're gonna mix together some burnt sienna and some raw umber, and then we'll pull in a little bit of red. We'll put that right down here, and that's going to give us a rich color down here in the bottom. I want to mix that around just a little bit more, so I'm going to grab this big one. You guys can feel free to comment too. I mean, if you guys are artists, if you guys are aspiring artists, or if you just end up enjoying and appreciating art, tell me. I love hearing from people. That's the one problem with doing any of these Facebook lives is I don't get to talk to someone and hear what they have to say while I'm painting the painting. It's kind of one-sided. Reminds me of when I had my radio show back in the day when I was in Salt Lake City. Being a DJ is very one-sided. I didn't like it. I think we need to add a little more light color up here. Let's do that. Let's just grab some white, some off-white, and a little other color. Let's put it up there, and then we'll use this one to just move it around. Soften it up by bringing it down a little bit that way, and then the same going the other way. You have to be really light when you're pulling it. That gives us a nice striation up there. You guys can't really see it because of the glare. Let's take this up. No, still too much glare. Let's see, hang on. That takes some of the glare off? Yeah, not really. Oh, you guys are just gonna have to take my word for it. There's some nice colors up there. Should pull some of this down. You know what? That's gonna be it for right now. Thanks for joining me, guys. I appreciate you. If you've just come on board and seen it, you'll get an opportunity to see much cooler stuff. Let's walk you around the studio, shall we? So we got a couple of great big paintings that I'm working on here. That one is two characters that are inside the novel. That's Garn and Bjorn. This guy, I was taking a look at an old NES game for Castlevania. And we got a really nice painting right here. This is one I've worked on for a while. That's a self-portrait, so now you guys know what I look like. And a couple of giant paintings of the Tetons. Well, thanks for joining in and watching me paint live. Let's get back over, take a look at what we've created. Take this one off so we can get a little glare off of it. A little shadow from me on it, but you get an idea of a live painting of clouds. Thanks, guys. Have a great day.